Hey, everybody, this is Dr. Kevin McGovern, and
Actually, yeah, I probably will.
this is the Prove It Live podcast. We are back on Thursdays live. We've got a couple of new streams. We are streaming now, I believe, on Facebook. You can catch us, and on YouTube. And today is our 41st show. So without further ado, I'll turn over to my esteemed, very handsome co-host, handsome Mike Frary. Mike?
Thank you, Kermit the Frog. I am Mike Frary.
Voice is terrible. I'm sorry.
I know what's going on with your voice. I'm Mike Frary from the Farm Baseball Performance Institute, along with the aforementioned Kevin McGovern of Perfect Motion Sports Therapy, battling a little potential laryngitis or early beginnings of laryngitis. But and we're also here with Ryan Gagne Fructis. He's back. Well, this is the second show in a row you're back for, right?
2 in a row, baby.
Yeah, so I think you're back in just general. So
yeah,
got a good show, great show today. So we got a lot to talk about, a lot to catch up. By the way, you know, we missed last week intentionally. We were working on some things to try to improve the show. You know, one of them is as simple as the Facebook page that Kevin mentioned that we'll be streaming on now as well, and working on some formatting stuff that hope to be coming to you like very soon, like hopefully next episode, but you know, not to put any pressure on us or anything. Wouldn't want to do that. No. So anyway, so top of the order, like always, we have top of the order, and there's a bit to catch up on, but I think mostly it's about playoff talk. So Gags, what do we have?
Yeah, there's a lot going on. Obviously, you know, with only 4 or 5 days left in the regular season for Major League Baseball, there's still a lot of playoff races yet to be decided. You know, the AL wild card is definitely a big one, but the NL West is also pretty interesting as well. You have the San Francisco Giants, who just became the most winningest team. Most winningest? Is that redundant?
The winningest.
Yeah, the winningest team in San Francisco history by notching their 104th win of the season. But their magic
Even when they were in New York?
So it goes back to
it's pretty impressive.
The 1962 and 1993 clubs, they basically broke the tie. They passed the 103 mark since the franchise moved west in '58.
Wow. Yeah, but this is San Francisco history, you said, right?
San Francisco, yes, exactly.
So they're going by a winning percentage of, you know, the Niners and that, right? That's what you're talking about?
I mean San Francisco Giants. So
all right, well, that was misleading.
Yeah,
that was very misleading.
But the interesting thing is they have 104 wins, but the magic number to clinch the division is still 3, because the LA Dodgers have 102 wins, right?
Oh, Dodgers.
Including a ridiculous win last night. They were down 9-5 in the bottom of the 7th, and they had 4 home runs in the 8th inning to propel them to victory over the San Diego Padres, who at the beginning of the season that was the sexy pick for a World Series. I myself included will I picked them to at least be in the mix there at the end of the year. They drastically underperformed, but they're still alive. So that's an interesting race to watch here in the next couple of days.
AL East.
Yeah, the AL East is pretty tight as well. It's crazy.
Very tight.
Yeah, I mean, when you think of it this way, the Rays have locked up the division. Right now they're 98-60, but the Yankees, Red Sox, and Blue Jays, so 3 of the next 4 teams in the division, are all vying for the last 2 playoff spots in the American League. The way the standings are right now, the Yankees have a 1-game lead on the Red Sox for the first wild card spot. Red Sox do have that second wild card spot. The Mariners are a half game behind, but then the Blue Jays are only a full game behind. So like I said, there's still 3 of the 4 remaining AL East teams are vying for the last 2 playoff spots in the division, which is kind of wild.
That's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
And we had another thing you wanted to talk about here, right?
Yeah, kind of devastating news for the Milwaukee Brewers, who had just clinched the division. I believe it was the division. They just clinched the division, and one of their top setup guys in the bullpen, Devin Williams, broke his hand a night after, celebrating, for lack of a better term, their divisional win. He apparently had a little too much liquid courage in him and got mad at something and punched a wall with his pitching hand and broke it. So he is out for the remainder of the season and likely all of the playoffs as well.
Well, he over imbibed, right? So like he
Yep.
took liberties there with the alcohol. And then at first it sounds like he did it celebrating. And I'm like, well, why would you punch a wall to celebrate? You know, I mean, not that I would condone it, but I mean, you can at least follow the logic of punching a wall when you're upset. You know, you lost a game.
Yeah.
It didn't make sense. But then we find out that it had more to do with something after the game. He got angry with something and punched the wall. And, you know, look, I mean, if anyone's ever seen the movie Bull Durham, and if you're a baseball fan, you haven't, shame on you. You should go watch that right now. Hit pause of the podcast and go watch it.
Yes.
My favorite baseball movie of all time. And you know, it's about the minor leagues. And you know, there's this young up and coming prospect pitcher, Super Nuke LaLoosh. And he's mentored by Kevin Costner's character, who's, you know, Crash Davis's catcher in the minor leagues. Has been, you know, he's about to break the all-time minor league home run record, which is like a bittersweet type of record, obviously. And there's a scene when they got into a fight, and he went to throw a punch at Crash, this Nuke LaLoosh, and threw it with his pitching arm. And of course, Crash Davis is like, "What are you doing? Like, you don't punch with your throwing hand." So, I mean, and this is like my point is, this is an age old, like, you're supposed to know this. You don't go punching things with your throwing hand, especially when you just won the division, you're headed to the playoffs. And, you know, I don't know what his contract is, but his arm is worth a lot of money. And just like dumb. I don't understand. Like, just no excuse for that, in my opinion.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. And this happened, I believe, after
you just won the division.
What is happening? This is why I should be in charge of that stuff. Good
Never
God.
be in charge of anything.
Good God. Should you? Anyway, this all came after a win, you know, for the Brewers against the Cardinals, a division opponent, right? But the Cardinals themselves just did something pretty insane. Just a little over, or I guess, you know, what, three weeks ago, they were sitting at 71-69. Okay, 2 games over 500. Their chances of making the playoffs were pretty low. And then they just casually went and rattled off a 17-game winning streak to secure the second wild card spot for the National League. So
that's
that
pretty
race
crazy.
is over. I mean, 17 in a row. You know, sports, especially getting into the playoffs, you always talk, you know, baseball, hockey, you know, probably basketball a bit as well. You know, when you have these longer series, you know, it's not always how you start, it's how you finish. It's getting hot at the right time. The Cardinals certainly seem to be doing that. Sitting at 88 and 70 right now. They did lose to the Brewers the other night to snap that streak, but they've firmed up their postseason ticket. They punched that, so they're ready to go for October, and it should be a real good month of baseball. You know, especially as like I said, as it's coming down to the wire here the last few days of the regular season, with some of these races still wide open. The NL East is still open as well, although it looks like the Braves are gonna clinch that. There's a lot of good baseball to be played, and it should be a fun month of October for those fans who love playoff baseball.
So, Kev, what's your stance on it? What do you think about the 1-game play-ins? I am not a fan. I did not like the 1-game playoffs.
Yeah.
Well, it's exciting, I guess, but I mean, to play 162 games and only have 1 game, I mean, like the Dodgers could be out, right?
Right.
Second or third best team in baseball, they could be out.
Right, exactly. The Dodgers could theoretically win 105 games in the season and be stuck in that wild card spot and lose to the Cardinals, who only have, say, 90. You know,
but you could say that you could say that them's the breaks right through that. But what about the fact that you got to look, if that game is your season's riding that game, now you got to use your number 1 starter, right? So if you do win, whoever you're playing next has an advantage on you immediately, right? Like, and I think fans want to see ace versus ace. I think they want to see those matchups. And like you're maybe seeing it, but for that 1 game, and you know, I know MLB says, "Oh, we do it because, you know, it gives more teams an opportunity to be involved in the playoffs." Like, you know, for a day,
Yeah.
I think most would happily take that pass. I don't know.
And
This is going back to when only teams would just win the pennant, the American League pennant, the National League pennant, you play in the World Series, right? I mean, this has been a major expansion.
Yep.
Obviously over the years.
Now I will say, us as Red Sox fans, I would almost say if we do make that wild card, which is, still up in the air at this point, but if we have that wild card game and say we're playing the Yankees at Yankee Stadium, Chris Sale is our ace. I don't think I'm pitching him that game. I think I'm throwing Nate Eovaldi in that game, with a game on the line. He's been a guy this year that's gone deeper in games more often than Chris Sale has. And with the way the bullpen's looking for this team, I think the Red Sox would be better suited throwing Eovaldi for, a minimum of 6, maybe 7, maybe 8 innings, where Chris Sale, you're going to get maybe 5 or 6 out of him. You know what I mean?
I disagree. Only because you never want to walk away from a season with your ace fully rested. You never want to have to walk away that way. I mean, you throw your best at him. All right. Our main topic. I've been wanting to talk about this for a little while, and now we're finally here. We're in the fall, and we want to talk about fall ball. I want to talk about it for a few. So first of all, I think it's important that we talk a little bit about, where fall ball came from, especially here in New England. It's become huge. And by the way, I'm a fan. I'm on both sides of this one, and I'm going to want to get Kevin's input on this, especially for one particular question I think is perhaps the biggest question. So, Kevin, I started coaching fall ball back in the early 2000s. And, I remember we were in a league that was the only league around here anyway, around the greater Boston area. And it was a really cool, I want to call it an invention, right? It was a really cool addition to baseball here. And because the number one thing was it was all about instruction, and it was reserved for the younger kids, not necessarily the high school age kids, but for the younger kids. And the idea was, you put 2 teams together from 2 different towns, and you have instructors as coaches. This was like the beginning of, hey, we have instructors as coaches, like this, new thing. Of course, there's tons of instructors who coach teams now. But the idea was that, you could stop in mid-game, right? So, there's a ball to the gap with a runner on third or a runner on first or whatever, right? And, the first baseman's not trailing the runner from first to second. The outfielders, you can see their backs. No one's going out for a double cut. You could say, stop, freeze. And either coach could stop the game, and you could use that as a teaching moment. And it was great. Right. And that's what it was. And the score didn't matter. Of course, the kids want to win. No one likes to lose, but that wasn't the goal. It was about, learning the game and getting better at the game. But I'm sure you've seen it, Kevin. It's completely gone away from that. And so now we're at the point where, like, is it worth playing, Kev? I mean, pitchers are throwing extra innings, a lot of extra innings above and beyond what they were. Some kids are doing it in lieu of other sports. Is it worth it? Is it those 6 extra weeks, 8 extra weeks? What do you think? Is it worth it for the player?
As it is now? No.
Yeah.
No, because it's just games and reps. There's no, what you described, the beginning of stopping the game and development. That's not happening. I just see a money grab, games, reps, innings. That's what it is.
Yeah. I mean, it's all about winning now, again, just like everything turns into. A couple of things. So we have, now we do it in our program, but we didn't do it for years. And I'll tell you what happened. So we thought we want our pitchers rest. We need them to rest, especially the kids, the older kids, because, they throw whatever 30 innings in high school, maybe more, because you have some, crazy coaches out there, high school coaches who throw a kid every 2 days. Like that happens on the regular, or at least every 2 games, which is sometimes only 3 days rest. And, and then they have their summer ball, and they're going to throw, if they're with us, we're going to try to keep them, limited to, somewhere in the 50 to 60 range. So they're throwing at least another 20, but they're for any other program that might not go by those rules, they could throw another 40 innings. They could be in the 70 inning range easily. And then you add fall ball, and now fall ball is another, at least 6 starts, right? Or at least 6 appearances. So six games they're pitching in. So that's another, if they pitch 5 innings, I mean, there you go. You just added a third onto that onto their workload for the year. And they need a break because, these kids are going to start training. They're going to take, hopefully, at least, mostly the month of November off if they're playing fall ball. December, they're training, and they're probably throwing bullpens. And again, like I said, we didn't because we had it where we were doing a developmental thing in the fall. But what we found out, Kevin, is that they were doing our developmental fall ball. They were off playing in a town. Like towns have it, high schools have it. Legion teams now, everyone has it. So, and if a player is a good player in a town, they always get pulled. Hey, come play fall ball with us. I know you're doing that AAU, but come play with us for the fall. And so, kids aren't going to say no. They want to go run to more baseball. And I know I'm sticking it
and
specifically
they don't want
to
to disappoint their coach, a potential future coach.
Right. So what I'm getting at, Kevin, is, and then I'm sticking sort of on the pitchers right now. But the other thing is, isn't it bad to just be repeating the same? Can't repetitions be a negative? Like if you're constantly just rotating and rotating and rotating and rotating and rotating, and you're not going to do 2-a-days in football and doing different types of business, is that not bad for you?
Kind of. It's not bad for you. I mean, we've talked on this show a bunch of times how you threw against the wall on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I think if you do anything with good mechanics, you can continue to do it. The issue now is with kids are throwing, and we've had this ad nauseum, horrific mechanics. They go see a strength and conditioning person who injures them with doing crazy things that they're not even mature enough to do, one-legged jumps and jump off this, rotate, slam ball into wall. So they're not doing building block movements, and they get hurt. So is it better than doing nothing? Yes. But if it was developmental, truly developmental, we're not having this conversation.
So do you think that pitchers, I'll stay on pitching for a second. Do you think that pitchers need a break? They need a rest? And I'll say that because don't forget and we won't do this with our pitchers. We don't start their actual throwing program until January, but I know a lot of places, a lot of kids that will be doing pitching lessons also through the fall into the winter. Like, do they need a break?
I would say no if it's done correctly, because what happens in January again is now you're reteaching them all the stuff that they have forgot to learn or not had the repetition. Now, do they have to throw 4 days a week? No, but it's a repetitive muscle memory sport that I think that should be gone over. Does that mean you're throwing 65 pitches off a mound? No, but definitely there are mechanical drills to keep the muscle memory so that you're not in January. It's still March until you're actually throwing correctly. In January, you should hit the mound ready to go.
So that's what I'm getting at. So I'm talking about the kids that are throwing bullpens. They're throwing bullpens every week, nonstop, right through into the winter.
Right.
No towel. This isn't towel stuff and med ball stuff.
Everything should have a purpose. What's the purpose? The purpose is to run very fast, throw a ball against the wall, and have the little thing light up about how fast. There's no place in baseball for that.
Right. Well, that's it.
And command and working on different pitches and balance point and being able to do things slow, fast, eyes open, eyes closed, working on that. There's always a place for that,
because as we know, the vast majority of kids unfortunately don't have the proper mechanics, and it's not their fault 99.9% of the time. It's what they were taught, right? And
we'll see that in a little while.
Yep. We will. And I'll tell you, and I see it every day. So, we just started with our, softball development and it's really still their fall season. Softball is different. They have actually tournaments that extend into the fall, but I'm like, look, it's the new season. We have we have new players in, et cetera, et cetera. We're going to get a jump on the off season. So we're doing a lot of the mechanical stuff. We're doing our throwing progressions, like the videos that we did in a couple episodes ago. And I tell you, Kevin, like they don't even know what a neutral grip is. I have to teach them a neutral grip. They're all, forcing pronation. They're all like this. And for softball, for whatever reason, I don't know what it is, if it's male female thing, but they all get out here and they twist. They do this, all of them. And that's why the main reason we're doing this so early with them is because I'm like, we got to get rid of the slider. Every girl throws a slider for some reason,
Yeah. I mean, you go, I've got 2 girls now that have injured 2 underhand throwers, women who have injured themselves throwing overhand, doing crazy drills, and like these drills, like what are you doing? And it's not their fault. It's what they've been instructed to do. So, I mean, again, the what instructor you're using, we'll hear things throw downhill. 0.01% of the world of pitching coaches know what that means. Okay. For those who don't, it's throw with gravity downhill, like not against it. Drop and drive, all these things that are just become catchphrases, but no one can explain them or give you, more importantly, this word, the why and why we're doing it.
Right. So, all right. So coming back to fall. So the other thing I'll ask you, Kevin, is, and I've heard this, and if I'm being honest, I have seen a couple, and maybe it's correlation and not causation. I won't go the whole thing again, but just maybe it's just not necessarily cause, but I've seen over the last few years, kids that end up with like that lumbar stress fracture in the lower back. I thought, but I think you told me differently. You can correct me if I'm wrong. I thought it was because the ones that happen to the kids who are just nonstop, they're in there 5 days a week, nonstop hitting year round. And, they're all, basically just baseball players. One of them might do track or something like that, but nothing where there's more dynamic movement. And so maybe I correlated the fact that, okay, they're just rotating. They're strong kids. They're the better players. Is there something to that? Like where that's something you should watch out for if you're rotating too much, or does that come from something else?
No, I think that, too much of one thing is too much. But like we had talked about a couple weeks ago about, why there's so many injuries in the NFL is that we are like hell bent on like velocity, speed.
Right.
Like a Lamborghini is a great car and go very fast, right? It also has the best in class brakes. We're not teaching these kids deceleratory training. They do not know how to slow down. They do not know how to control their bodies. I mean, that's why there's so many injuries in the NFL, these non-contact. If you freeze frame where these guys are blowing their knees out, you're like, how did he even get in that position? Why are you even in that position on a football field? Because it's all about speed, which is fine, but you have to be able to slow down. Okay. And we talked about rotation. You've got to be able to, as many rotations as you do, the other side of the equation is stability, that you have got to, they've got to be stable to do that. They've got to have good core muscles. That I don't mean strength. I mean that they are sequentially in order. And there's not too many kids on the planet of adolescent age that have that.
That's a really good point, because, at least 2 of the kids that I know of, without saying the names, you know both of them. One of them is a former player, current coach of mine. We call Shrek. And the other one is one that just had a tremendous amount of success this past year and got lots of professional attention. And so these are 2 players who did have good sequential motion. But I'll tell you one thing is, you talk about decelerating. That could be it, because, we have lots of kids that will get to contact through contact and then almost just like abruptly come to an end and not just let their shoulder pass through and not, right. It's almost the same as breaking down when you go through a base, right? It's almost as if they're just trying to like take one hop and stop like a long jump instead of like right and breaking down. And so that's interesting. So we'd like to watch out for it, but that's that's a huge tidbit and you talk about all the time, is the deceleration and not knowing how to decelerate the movement that you're practicing so much to do fast.
Yeah. I mean, I've trained in the martial arts over the last 10 or 15 years, first few lessons, how to breathe, next few lessons, how to fall, how to literally control your body that you don't get hurt, even if someone throws you to the ground, that you know how to land, how to decelerate, how to move out of harm's way. And I just don't see that, because everybody, how fast is my 60? How fast is my velocity? How fast is this? You look at even Julian Edelman, the cut that he, like, if you freeze frame that picture, what kind of position is he in?
I know.
Certainly not a functional one, right? But fast, and boom. The ACLs are just as big as they were 30 years ago. They didn't get any bigger. They're still the same size.
Yep. And that's the problem, is the things around it are, or to make it move faster, are getting bigger, and they are getting faster.
Right.
That's a good point. So, all right. So sort of moving on, I want to tell you what fall ball sort of become. Okay. So I know we kind of went off into the weeds a little bit there, but it's important, because look, fall ball is huge now. It is huge, and injuries are going up. So anything that I'd say is different than 30 years ago, we should look at it. We should look at it as to why kids are getting hurt. And I agree, by the way, wholeheartedly with Kevin, that if you're doing it properly, you're probably going to be okay. You're going to be fine. But the problem is, way too many kids are not doing properly. So some kids, many kids, and adults and pros are getting hurt just in the normal amount of time they're supposed to be playing the game, right? In the regular season. So now we're extending that. It's just something that I think that we could be better using our time for our players, which in the fall, right, we have this, and here in New England, it's the best time to play baseball. There's less rain. It's not as hot and humid. It's great. It's great. Why don't we utilize that to improve the players, to continue to develop the players? Those games don't mean anything. Not that the ones in the summer really do either for the 14-year-olds, but we get it. Kids like to win, right? So, but at a minimum, you can say, look, in the fall, we're going to take all that away. We're going to strip it down. We're going to focus on development, and we can do it on the field instead of, because look, and just a month and a half after that, you have to be inside. It's going to be freezing. So anyway, so Kevin, so this past weekend, speaking of fall ball, and this is what it's become. We're in a softball tournament. This is fall ball, still fall ball. And I am coming off of a game where a coach
was pitch or with girls.
Oh, this is girls.
I don't know if you two were playing.
Oh, no. That's him. I never play softball. And I guess I was
tonight.
Ew. All right. We just admitted that on the podcast. All right. So
Fine with it.
this is 14U, rising 14-year-olds. So in softball, they go every 2 years. So there's 10U, 12U, 14, 16, right? So these girls are 12 years old, almost all of them. And they're going up to the first year of 14U. And so there is a change in the pitching circle. It goes from 40 feet, 12U, to 43 feet, which is full diamond, right? So we had just come off a game against a program whose coach, thankfully, was like-minded. He was like, look, I want the girls to play. I want them to get better. I gave him my whole spiel about, hey, look, I don't care. I just want them to be good. I want them to be able to win when it matters, when people are watching. And he was sort of on the same page. So I go from that and I'm like, oh, this is great. Maybe the word's getting out. Maybe people are finally understanding this. Kevin, the next team we play, okay, I didn't count. Okay. But I can tell you, just in one inning alone, okay, to push, I think, 5 runs across the plate, they bunted between 9 and 11 times. Okay. Bunted between 9 and 11 times, because they figure, and it's true, 12-year-old girls, even if they know how to execute that bunt defense, they're typically not fast enough and strong enough. It's only 60 feet, the bases, to get that girl out. And they're certainly not good enough to get an out and then make a play at the next base where they're, going to send a runner. I mean, there was one play where I was starting to tell Ryan before the show, it was a girl on third base. There's a bunt right to the third baseman. She perfectly executed this. She fields it, looks, freezes the girl. Now the girl's literally a foot from the base. She would not have to move her body, just pick her foot up and go like this and be on the base. So a foot from the base, looks her back, makes the throw to first. Second baseman covers first, makes the out, throws home, not in time, right? Perfectly executed. But
right.
And so what they're doing is they're taking.
That's good.
Yeah, right. And so actually, I'm like, then I told them, I said, look, that's going to be 2 outs in the future. But anyway, the point I'm getting is like, what are you bunting for? Is it for your girls? Are you trying to get them better?
To win games in September.
Right. And who wants to win that game?
The coach.
The coach.
Because what do you think it is? 30%? Would you say 40% that they field something on?
I'll say this. So there was a lot of new girls who are new to the program in that game, and had it been their full regular team, because we've had to learn how to defend bunts like that, they probably would have been less successful. But I would say that they were, probably right, something like that, 3 out of 4, something like that. And we're just kind of giggling at it at the time because you're not helping your player. You're not helping your player. Do you watch the College World Series? Do you see that sort of offense? No, you see girls leaving the yard. You see girls hitting doubles. They'll bunt when they need to, first and second, nobody out. They need to get a runner over, right? But
so while this Bush League play, that's what it is. I mean, it's kind of like bunting when there's a no hitter or a perfect game,
right? What's
happening? Like, what's the buzz? Like, what's the buzz on either side? Parents on one side, because my own girl is in the 12U.
Mm-hmm.
My issue is when the ball's hit, no one moves, which is kind of cool. It's hitting, everyone freeze, no matter where it's hit. The first move is to do nothing. So, I mean, obviously this is a higher level of play. So and people are, it's town league, but they're both paying, but still, what is happening on both sides of the fence?
So the good news is, our girls are where they're supposed to be. They're moving, right? So, on a situation like that, the first base crashes in, second base covers first base, short goes to second, third base holds, pitcher has first base side, left fielder comes crashing down to back up third. All the things.
Perfect.
Perfect. They're just not strong enough yet. And they're close because this play with the plate was like bang, bang, right? Almost a double play. And so, and that's how I encourage them to look, girls, this is not, you keep doing what you're doing. We keep working on, we're working on it. And by the way, I can't tell you how many times, because this isn't just this one team. I don't want to pick on just them. There's so many that do that. In fact, I can't tell you how many times, one of my girls is up to start off an inning. And that's the thing. They don't even teach them how to bunt for a hit, Kevin. They're squaring like this to bunt with nobody on. And so, we have one of our hitters up, and you hear their coach going, "Hey, so the third baseman, come in, bring in." Like, we're not bunting. We don't do. Number one, it's not what we do at this age because we want them to learn how to hit. But number two, it's fall. It's fall ball. Let your girls learn how to hit.
What was the outcome of this game?
So we end up losing 6-3. But I can tell you on the flip side, and why this is not sustainable and why it doesn't help these girls is our second year 14U team at the end of their summer season played a team. Actually, it was the same program, different higher age group, but same program. They had, I think, 17 bunts, all unsuccessful. Unsuccessful. And our older girls beat that team, handedly. And that's the point. These girls are about to go in high school.
You're a better man than me, dude. I would have packed up and walked off and went and practiced somewhere else. I really would have.
I know. But
you're
you know what?
Man. You're a bigger man than me. I would have been like, dude, what are you? I would have been in the umpire's face. Like, what's going on here? And there's I'm assuming there's no rule against.
No. And I'll tell you why. So first of all, if I did that, I'd have to do that every other game, because that's how prevalent it is in youth softball. I swear to God. And look, that's the problem. The whole problem is that you have coaches who want to win more than develop their girls.
So we won that September 17th game 6-3.
Woohoo! Right? Exactly. Fall game.
17 times.
Yes, exactly. Our girls not getting better. And so what I say to the girls is, look, I tell them what I told you. This is not sustainable. And so when you see them again at second year 14 or first year 16, you steamroll teams like that. And because you are fundamentally sound, you know how to hit, and so at the end of the day, it comes back to just not developing. You should be developing mechanics. You should be developing fundamentals at, the 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 years. Right.
How about fun? How fun is it to get there and bunt?
Well, that's funny you say that because I know like
Okay. I mean, like, how fun is it for the other team to bunt? Like, I came here to play.
it's not. And well, it's funny is we had like I think 3 or 4 girls from that program that we played in the summer that bunted 17 times unsuccessfully, had them come to our program to try out this year. And so parents obviously don't like it, but it's just a state of where we are. So we go from a fall ball, baseball and softball, that was, hey, timeout, stop the game, teaching moment, let's go over it. Okay, coach, I'm going to tell my team what they should have done offensively. Coach, you tell them what they should have done defensively, and it takes 5 minutes max, and on with the game you go. It goes from that to, winning at all costs, and not letting girls learn how to hit, or by the way, if you were going to bunt, like teach them how to do it, how to teach them how to bunt for a hit. But it's just it. And again, it's not the girls up there doing it on their own. They're up there, they're getting their signs. It's the verbal signs are a big deal now in softball. Hey, 1-3, 1 white. They got to look at their little wristband. So yeah, it's and so that's the question. Oh, yeah. And so is that
both teams?
And so what are you getting out of that? What are you getting out of that?
That's shameful. That really is. I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah. So you're here playing in the fall to continually bunt and like whatever. It's bad. So anyway, so that is the state of fall ball, unfortunately. And we do our best. We do our best with developing, and and look, we see it. Our older kids, when you get to 16, 17 years old, 18 years old, like these kids are almost on autopilot, and yeah. So anyway, so that's my take on fall ball. I wish I had a better report, but that's what I have. So
well, I think when it first started, it had good intentions.
It had great intentions.
Like everything else is kind of morphed into this bunting 17 times.
And what a great opportunity. Now, and on baseball, the baseball end for me, it's not the same, but you do see kids pitching 7-8 innings in a 9-inning game in a fall ball. Like, why? Like, throw someone at the fall game. Why do you care? Yeah, just let them play. Let them, for my pitch, like, hey, go and work. You got a third pitch you're working on? Yeah. Okay. Throw that 30% of the time.
Yeah. I mean, to me, fall ball should be like, MLB and extra innings now. Let's put a guy at second base twice
Right.
and see how we react, or first and third, or situational. The kids learn how to work out of difficulty. But then again, we don't learn how to work out in difficulty in major leagues. Get a guy on to third inning, out comes the starter. We're going out and getting them.
Yep.
We don't fundamentally work out of problems. And now we know why, because when we're 13, we're bunting and trying to pitch 9 innings.
Yeah.
Well, you see too.
It should be glglorified scrimmages is really what they should be.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes. Right. Like, why should it matter? Like, because for once, I mean, I'm always, there's first place and second loser, but when you're talking about development, this should be like extended spring training, you bat as many people as you can and play whatever.
Especially in my eyes at the 13U baseball level, because
that's the hugest level.
A lot of these kids are still 12. They're playing their spring, upcoming spring age level, right? So this is, in most of these kids' cases, it's their first time in the big diamond, right? So it's getting them exposure to that, playing in different positions where they're not used to, making further throws, seeing pitches coming in from a farther distance, things like that. That has to be as instructional as possible, because it's, that, again, we've talked about this before. That's the age where you see a huge drop off. It's the, the kids that just can't, make the throw across the diamond anymore, things like that. So getting them that early exposure and putting it in like an instructional point of view is huge.
Yeah, it really is. And it's like I said, fall is a great opportunity to be able to do this. Right. And look, you mentioned second place, the first loser. It is, but it doesn't matter. But when it does matter, right, you want your kids to be ready. And that's the point. Like, are you going to remember, winning a Saturday fall game when you're 14 years old? Are you going to remember, that game you won in the regionals in college, right? Or the state championships in high school? Those are the games that are going to matter. We tried that, Kevin, for 2 years in a row. And Ryan probably remembers this, where we try to do it differently. Instead of just having traditional fall games, we did everything in house, and would make 2 teams and would say, okay, the same scenario, you're going to be both faced with the same scenario every inning, or different scenario, but the same one. You each
Right.
have the shot at the
Top
same
and
one.
bottom. Yep.
Right, top and bottom. So we'll say, okay, first and second, nobody out. You got to push a run across. Find a way to push a run across. And if the first team doesn't do it, the second team does, and the bottom of the inning, they win the inning. So they get a point, right? Or a run,
That's
whatever.
Great idea. Great
So-
idea. You have a plan for every inning.
They have a plan for every inning, right? And then maybe it's a defensive thing. Like now it's you have to prevent the run, whatever. But so yeah, I mean
And oftentimes too, Mike's leaving this part out is, we're coaching third base, but we're not giving signs, right? It's like, hey, we need you to think about what's good, what the right thing to do here is, right? Like it's on you to figure, oh, I should bunt here, or I should try to hit a ball to the right side, or I got to get under one and at least get a fly ball. I can't ground out here, right? Having the kids think about the mental side of the game is huge.
The idea is mental preparedness too, right? So if you face that situation in a relaxed environment and you do, you get to see that 7-8 times, well, when it actually means something in a couple of years in a high school game, you're not going to panic. You're going to been there. So, but anyway,
it's such a complicated game. There's so many different scenarios that you can't practice. That just don't come up, and
right.
That you could have a practice plan for every single inning and truly get kids better rather than, gee, we won both ends of the doubleheader in Salem on Sunday, September 13th.
Winning should be a byproduct of good training and hard work, period. Mm-hmm. Right. So, all right. What do we have next? I know, all right. So I know we're going to spend a good amount of time on our favorite segment this week, right? Cause we've got two pretty good ones. Right. So I think it's time. Let
me pop
right to it.
Drum roll. Let's pop into it.
If we can get there.
Wait a minute. What?
All right.
Why would you do that?
Why?
All right. This is the first one.
So I have here, we can see this. I've pulled this off of Facebook. So this is something that's out there in social media. And the purpose of this drill was whether we should hang at the top of the set point or wherever you want to call it, that there's a pause point, like roller coaster goes to the top of the hill, pauses and goes down. But that's not even what I'm going to nearly address when you see what happens with this. Now, this is again, showing man. I'm assuming that home plate is here, right? Straight. Okay.
Yep.
So here's our setup of our shoulders being already closed, our foot closed, our head down, and we are shrugging, for lack of a better term. Now, when I bring through this, our immediate movement here is to go home, right? The leg is up. Not only do we not even pause, we're already, our center of gravity is going home. Let's get squiggly. It's going forward, right? Look at this gentleman's hips are already wanting to go forward. Now, as soon as he lifts his leg, he also shrugs his shoulders and closes them off even more. So why am I telling you this is because now this is the only thing this is going to do is make that arm longer to go to home plate. Now we talk about arm path as a consistent precursor to Tommy John surgery. We've all seen it in the Mark Pryors, the Stephen, what's his name, Strasburg. Yeah, with a very long arm path. Now, we will see here, we can't even see this player's arm. That means somewhere over here, it's pointing to our second baseman. All right, our shoulders have
or even first baseman.
Yeah, our shoulders have become even more closed off. Now, I always look for a key when that front foot hits the ground. Where is the arm? So boom. So now we have our front foot hit the ground. The arm is up, okay? But we have now an anchor in our back foot here. And this is, again, a teach, okay? This is a teach. This is actually taught to drag the foot. And as we begin to rotate the hips, which are now maybe pointing to the other teams on deck circle, as we begin to now rotate that at full rotation of our trunk, we now have this arm in this angle here, where it should be, in my opinion, here throwing with gravity. And if we clear all this out, we can squiggle out over that. As we clear all this out and we finish our rotation, I mean, the arm never gets to a position where I think should be down here somewhere. We're letting the ball go way up here in the throwing with gravity, maybe for a split second. I mean, here's the ball up here. I mean, and again, we jam our left knee into the ground, which is reminiscent of what Tiger Woods used to do, what he was taught to gain more rotation of his top. If you look at video of him from the 90s, he jammed that front knee and rotated around that. Gags could corroborate that, and we saw what happened with that knee began the demise of the greatest golfer in history, which really never, his swing is drastically different. Well, now he's not, but unfortunately, I mean, he's in a soft knee, which would be here, a more functional position. But this is, I mean, look, this position is just not sustainable. And these are teaches. These are teaches.
It's bad. He's also extremely tall throughout this delivery as well. And talking about what we were talking about earlier about deceleration, right? He doesn't allow his upper body to sort of decelerate together with his arm. So then his arm becomes isolated, and that's a lot of.
So thousands of likes, tons of complimentary.
Of course.
On his mechanics, and this is I mean, I don't know, does these people like not slow video down? Does that, I know they talk about this hip to shoulder separation, but the arm is not a golf shaft. Okay, we can't put torque through that like we do a graphite shaft, and we're not Bryson DeChambeau. Okay, the arm has very tiny little tendons in it that cannot sustain this torque. Now, again, what I do for other adolescents here is I like to have I'm wearing my WWE shirt here. I like to have my folding table here, right? And I want after we throw the ball to choke slam the ball through the table, because that would really tell me that you are following through with force. And not only does he hit the table, he doesn't even end dusts it. And there's no power here at all. None. Everything has been generated back here, as opposed to here. And he couldn't break a pane of glass from here. So when he's in the gravity assisted position, the ball's already out of his hands.
That's awesome.
So that's a
great breakdown.
Do you want me to call up the other one? Let me see if I can do that now.
While you're doing that, and before we start this one, as silly as it is, you're already seeing it. But I think it's real important that because we always talk about, like, we're not trying to, criticize the actual player.
No, never, absolutely never.
We picked that video because they put that out there as like, hey, here's a perfect model of what we do and what you will look like when we work with you, and that needs to be pointed out that there's lots involved in terms of healthy throwing that need to be corrected on that. All right, now this one I don't even know what to say. Okay, so I think our
so for those
Jeff Fry,
yeah, so this I'll set this up. This is this snap it. If anyone saw the Ryder Cup, hit the Jordan Spieth flop shot out of the side of the hill that he shot up about 150 feet before almost falling into Lake Michigan. However, it appears that this child has some sort of TheraBand wrapped around his neck and his bottom hand. I'm not sure what. This thing, you gotta get on our Facebook page and you've got to see this, because this is ridiculous. This kid's like 7, 8, 9 years old. I mean, yeah,
he might be even a little, but doesn't matter. I mean, what this drives me crazy. It really does, because this guy that is teaching this. They call it the teacher man or whatever. It's almost like cult like, I dare say, right? Because there are people that will defend him. Now, you will not see a major league swing look anything like this, and he will
not true, Mike. You're just not looking at the video correctly.
That's right. I'm not seeing the video correctly. Exactly. According to the teacher man. And as you can see, I think we all know that where the ball comes, and there's a path, right? There's a -8, -10 degree downward path of the ball as it comes from the pitcher's hand into the strike zone, and how we want to match that path. In fact, we just looked at a graph today at launch angle and what angle you want the ball to come off the bat to maximize success. And let me see if I can pull that up here. I think I can.
I might be able to get that for you.
Oh, that'd be great.
And then, because that goes back to the other cuckoo we had a few months ago who said that hitting ground balls is okay, right?
Correct.
So this would counteract that.
Yep. But it also counteracts this with this guy, because if you hit a ball like that, you're going to create a 50 degree angle. I don't see how, unless you miss it, unless you're making contact at a point other than what would be optimal contact for that swing plane. And I can tell you that that's not where you want to be. I'm just looking at this graph right now, like the 45 to 49 degree launch angle batting average in MLB was 0.043.
Actually,
okay.
Let's see if I can share my screen and get that back for you. Hold on. Oh, look at this.
Boom.
There it is.
So this is it, right? So you can see by looking at this chart here that the optimal launch angle, and this is the angle of the ball off the bat, not the angle of the swing plane, is 25 to 29 degrees. Okay.
You guys have said that like countless times, right?
It's countless times. And so you look at that, the production is a 0.424 batting average. And this isn't obviously a guarantee, right? 1,718 home runs came from that angle. Okay. Now, what's important to understand is, like I said, that's the angle of the ball off the bat. It's not the swing plane. And I think that's where people like the teacher man maybe get confused, is they try to create that swing plane. That's not how you look at. It's a round bat and a round ball. When they collide, it's going to come off at an angle, either down, forward. You can hit it straight. You can have a perfectly squared ball too. But if your swing plane is correct, and one thing I want to talk about in another show is what level really means, because I know it sounds simple, but there's a lot to it. You want to swing level with the plane of the pitch. Again, that 8 to 10 degrees because of the negative.
So the 8 to 10 degree swing plane will produce anywhere from a 20 to 29 inch launch angle.
Correct. That I did. Now there's there are variations, and that could go up to 14, 15 degrees, because look, you're hitting breaking balls. They have a different downward angle on them. And also we're talking about, almost squaring the ball, hitting it just so that we extend through, and proper hand path comes into play here too, right? If you're at contact and you're starting to roll your wrists, you're not going to get it, right? Even if you're at 8 to 10, because now you're affecting the barrel and the barrel's approach to the ball. So, but generally speaking, and like I said,
he's got some guidelines here, right?
Yeah.
Ground ball, less than 10, line drive, fly ball.
There you go. And a pop-up is greater than 50 degrees. And why that's important is you just saw the video with the kid that they could choke himself with the elastic band or whatever it is. He's literally swinging his bat up in the air, straight up in the air, straight up into the air. And I challenge anybody to say, unless you're missing that ball, unless the ball's here and your bat is hitting it like this when you're way early.
Oh, with that swing, you're the anti-pull host, right? You're in the zone 0.0 milliseconds. Yes. Right? You're not staying through that all the way through like you described Albert Pujols.
Unless some pitcher has a pitch that goes like this and then all of a sudden makes a U when it gets to the contact area.
Something like I threw a wiffle ball.
Like that. Right. I don't even think you could do that I don't think the best wiffle ball pitcher in the world could create anything like that. So harkens back to what we always talk about, like why we do this show. That guy has thousands of followers, thousands.
Like not even like disciples.
Right.
Right. That will defend this and tell me that what I'm looking at,
It's not what you're looking
Barry
at.
Bonds, right?
Yeah.
Tell me that Barry Bonds is doing this snap it with his wrist before he swung those incredibly fast, tight hips. That somehow he was snapping his hands first.
Right. And not using his legs to initiate the swing. Right. That
Right.
makes no sense whatsoever. And by the way, but that's also the same guy who would tell you, I think that Ted Williams, could not play in today's game. I think he said something like that, outlandish.
Yes, I believe he was just on a podcast with the aforementioned Jeff Fry and mentioned that he could not play in today's game. Ted Williams.
Yeah. Who's the model of everybody like Barry Bonds. So yeah, that's amazing. And so Tony Gwynn, I guess.
Like not with that 310.
Yeah, no, couldn't play.
Not a major leaguer.
Right. Unbelievable. I don't even know what to say to that. I really don't.
People looking for effect.
I guess, yeah. It's like the saying that shock value, right? Looking for shock value. I hope that's what it is. Because I think it's dangerous that people like that are out there teaching kids stuff. And look, I'm sure we'll see more of them. I mean, he's like a source. He's we try to look at other ones too. If we wanted to, we could use one of his videos literally every single week, but that would get pretty redundant. You get the point. I challenge anybody to go find a big leaguer that swings like that. He was just swinging, because that's exactly what they teach. It's to crash the elbow down and up in the air. So
100%.
Yep. Let us know if you can find a video, send it to us. Love to see it.
Love to see it.
Yep.
A couple of announcements.
Okay.
Like I said, we do have a new Facebook page.
Yes, we do.
There's the Prove It Live podcast. It's on there. So please, we'll have stuff on there. We'll post stuff on there. So please like it, join it, follow it. We're still on YouTube as well. And we do have a new Instagram page at the Prove It Live podcast. So there'll be stuff that's we're branching out into social media here with our stuff. So please share our stuff. I don't think we have any questions from last week. We had a couple of good comments. People like what we said, but we don't need to blow our own horn. But no specific questions. If you do, you can post a question on Facebook, on YouTube, and of course at info@proveitlive.com, our email address. And that's it.
That's it.
And hey, congratulations. I know Mike doesn't think it's a sport, but congratulations to the United States for putting an absolute whooping on those European
beat down. What a beat down.
A slap around.
And we got a hug from Bryson and Brooks.
Yes, Bryson and Brooks made up. Yes.
Yeah.
Bryson now I still think is still he's one of the only
is that like a suit company?
Yep.
So he left so Bryson DeChambeau put on, I think, between 35 and 50 pounds over the pandemic to go after changing the way golf is played. And, he did hit a 414-yard drive in the Ryder Cup in which he literally aimed some kind of back and forth hole over the crowd and just went went over the wrong hole to land. But he currently is still alive in the National Long Drive competition. We're a PGA player. The last one to participate was a guy by the name of Rory Sabatini, who had no business being in the long drive because he
more money. Sabatini, more money.
Yeah,
you remember that commercial?
Yeah, but I do remember that. So he's in that. Love him, hate him, whatever. But he's swinging out of his shoes to hit this ball. So
it looks like somebody named. All right, Barry Mccochener.
Yes,
won the long drive.
Oh, last year or this year?
This year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it looks like it just wrapped up.
Must have just wrapped up. Okay.
Barry Mccochener.
I can't wait to see these guys when they're like 55 and 20 pounds heavier. It's gonna be insane.
Congratulations, Barry Mccochener. Wherever that might be.
Looks like this might be a troll thing, but it's pretty funny.
Could be. All right.
All right.
Wait, we have isn't there a football game in town this weekend?
I don't think so.
There's no.
Was that this week?
Was LS playing?
No, isn't there some? Quarterback here. What's his name?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Brady.
That 6th round pick. Yeah.
Thomas Patrick Edward
Drew
Brady.
Henson.
He's coming home. He's coming home.
Drew Henson's understudy. Is he coming?
Yeah.
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 All right.
Coach Cars. Yep.
We'll have to hold on. We'll have to. That's Sunday night, right?
Sunday Night Football, 8 o'clock. Yep.
Football. All right.
8:20 p.m.
It'll be interesting.
Now, real quick, would either of you guys go to that game?
No. I mean, I would if it was handed to me, maybe.
I think football's best watched at home.
I
agree with that. And also, even if it was handed to me, I don't think I would go. A Sunday night game at Gillette at 8:20. You're not getting home till 2 a.m.
Yeah, but this is the Sunday night to go to. You don't want to go to the one in December.
2 a.m. Tuesday. That's when you get home. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Because people are going to be there. I mean, what time's the gate? What time the gates open for an 8 o'clock game? Like 2?
No, I don't think the parking lot actually opens up until
4?
like 4 p.m.
Oh, really? Really?
Yeah.
Only 4 hours? Really?
Yeah, and for a good reason. They want to.
But hold on. That's the Patriots, the ones across the street that are owned by other entities. They'll open.
Those open up early.
Yeah.
Because people are going to start. I mean,
drinking. Oh, there'll be people there that like bring in. They bring generators. They'll be tailgating and watching the 4 o'clock games.
Yeah,
right.
Like Tom Brady said years ago, he wants people to get there early and get lubed up.
Yeah.
They'll
certainly be lubed up for sure.
Yeah. Speaking of people imbibing too much, like we talked about earlier, it's going to be. It could get ugly this weekend.
I don't think so.
It'll
be fun.
He can't be booed. I mean, no one's gonna boo
him. No, they're not gonna boo him.
Kidding me?
Interesting thing, and I know we got to jump off here, but from a betting perspective, Vegas is holding the line like around 7 because they want people to throw money at Tampa, right? If they pushed it up, higher, 10, 12 points, right? Then money's going to shift towards New England. They want all that Tampa Bay money to come in, around the 7 mark. Because I really think that Vegas thinks that the Patriots are going to cover, and a lot of people out there are saying that the game is going to be closer than people think.
It could be. I mean, first of all, the Tampa Bay has no defense at all, 0. I mean,
no.
Tom Brady and Gronkowski better think about playing both ways.
Gronk might not even be playing. There's a report out there that he might not play.
Well, he got pretty banged up the other day.
Did he fall off his big wheel?
He did fall. He got hit pretty good.
Yeah. So should be a fun weekend around here.
All right.
Yeah. So we'll see. We'll report next time. Thursday. We'll have a report.
Yep.
All right, everyone. Thank you.
All right, folks. Wiedersehen.
Bye-bye.
Toodles.